Hello friends, in 2020 a case was filed in the United States against Cisco for caste discrimination. It made international headlines but was largely ignored by the Indian media. That same year, the brutal gang rape and murder of a Dalit girl in Hathras, Uttar Pradesh, saw the media initially trying to cover it up. In another case, a senior Dalit police officer in Haryana was driven to suicide after mistreatment by his upper caste superiors. Yet the incident received little media attention. Across India, countless atrocities against Dalits, Muslims, and women take place, but they rarely spark serious discussion in the mainstream media. Remember NDTV's Big Fight show in early 2000s? Despite its name, the host Vikram Chandra ensured that the debate maintained decorum and substance. Although other news channels too adapted this template, things began to deteriorate when jingoism and political propaganda overwhelmed all journalistic sanity. Republic TV, Times Now, India Today, etc. hosted shouting matches where decorum and ethics had no place at all. The idea is to distract public attention from real issues facing them. Interestingly, Arun Puri, the founder and editor in chief of the India Today group, recently stated that 99% of news channels lose money and are often treated by industrial houses and billionaires as tools for influence. What else did Puri expect? When India Today itself is guilty of the same. Senior editors provide lame excuses like political pressures, takeover by corporate bosses, and technological disruptions. But should these be the reasons for the prevalence of sycophantic tendencies, unethical practices, and shameless compromises? Did they ever factor in the consequences like erosion of media's credibility and public trust? India's ranking in the World Press Freedom Index has plummeted to 151 out of 180 countries in 2025. Some say it is 159. Anyway, since 2014, toxic interplay of internal and external pressures, violence against journalists, concentrated ownership, and political alignment have contributed to this dangerous state of affairs. But if there was collective resistance, things could have been different. If they crawled during the emergency, the media persons are licking the boots and much else of the powers that be today. The once vibrant fourth estate has been reduced to a murky, repulsive private property. A pristine edifice of free speech and democracy is showing all the signs of a seedy house of sin, owned and run by powerful moneybags who have no stakes in the future of democracy in India. According to the Reuters Institute Digital News Report 2024, trust in news credibility in India dropped by 9 points. This erosion stems from a shift away from objective reporting towards sensationalism, bias, and misinformation. A Lokniti CSDS report titled Media in India Trends and Patterns found that 82% of media organizations blindly support the Bharatiya Janata Party out of fear of business repercussions. This figure rises to 89% when we include independent journalists' opinions. Such partisanship has transformed media from a watchdog to a lapdog. The policy circle states that lack of editorial oversight and Indian media's resort to partisanship and spectacle has resulted in the deepening crisis of credibility. We know how during the 2025 India Pakistan tensions, Indian TV channels amplified unverified claims of airstrikes and terror camps using fake videos. This made a mockery of journalism. The New York Times highlighted how various news outlets suppress damaging news to the government's reputation. And they also amplify falsehoods during crises like border conflicts. This credibility loss is not isolated, it feeds into other factors, creating a vicious cycle. Moreover, trolling, fake news, and curbs on free speech by vested interests have alienated audiences. The BJP's rise in 2014 ushered in an era of intensified political pressures that have choked media's independence. Reporters Without Borders, also known as RSF, describes this as an unofficial state of emergency. And this is because the media bosses have aligned with BJP or Bharatiya Janata Party to control narratives. One corporate house aligned to BJP controls over 70 outlets reaching 800 million people. Another BJP billionaire's 2022 acquisition of NDTV ended one of the last bastions of pluralism. Colonial era laws on sedition and defamation, alongside new legislation like the 2023 Telecommunications Act and the draft, it is still a draft, yet to be passed or legislated, Broadcasting Services Bill, empower the government to censor content and control digital platforms. A Carnegie Endowment study notes how these tools repress social media moderation in India. Various examples include the raids on BBC offices in 2023 after a documentary critical of the Prime Minister and the 600-day incarceration of Kashmiri journalist Fahad Shah under anti-terror laws. Sedition cases shot up by 30% since 2014 as per a Berkeley Center report. This political stranglehold intersects with financial woes as government ads worth billions reward compliant outlets as per RSF. In 2023, the Editors Guild of India faced charges of promoting enmity over a Manipur report, highlighting how even editorial bodies are targeted for critical work. Media owners have turned their news outlets into extensions of their economic empires. The Media Ownership Monitor by RSF reveals that India's media is dominated by business families and investors. The ownership structures include joint stock companies, societies, and trusts that obscure true control. Two biggest corporate empires have acquired vast media portfolios, influencing content to align with their political and commercial agendas. For instance, corporate acquisition of the Network 18 led to abrupt resignation of independent editors who resisted pro-government slants. This was documented in a Caravan magazine piece on the slow disappearance of independent editors. Owners handpick pliant journalists, suppressing fearless reporting to avoid offending the powerful or their powerful allies. The migration of anchors from India Today to NDTV is a case in point. After the takeover of NDTV in 2022, the channel was transformed from a critical voice to one more aligned with BJP narratives. The Stimson Center's report on media bias highlights how various government advertisements serve as a financial lever for influencing content. The owners direct editors to give top priority to stories that secure ad revenue from state coffers. During the COVID 19 pandemic, editors at various Hindi channels downplayed government mishandling. They amplified misinformation about vaccines to align with official narratives. The proliferation of digital media has disrupted traditional channels, accelerating their decline. According to a 2024 Reuters report, over 70% of Indians rely on online sources for news, with 49% using social media. This shift has eroded traditional TV and print revenues, forcing closures and or mergers. A study in the International Journal of Library and Information Practice notes a 20.81% cumulative increase in online consumers from 2019 to 2022. Traditional outlets lose audiences to agile, cost-effective digital alternatives, which democratizes journalism. Citizen journalists via blogs and OTT platforms have bypassed state monopolies and corporate owned entities. But they are unregulated, resulting in proliferation of fake news. Influencers conduct flattering interviews with no accountability. For example, the Caravan reports on the Indian PM's use of these YouTube or OTT channels to bolster his own image. Online disinformation deteriorates discourse. Fragmentation worsens credibility as traditional media resorts to sensationalism and succumbs to political pressures. Sycophancy permeates Indian media, particularly after 2014. Termed Godi media, these news outlets promote pro BJP propaganda. According to the RSF, Hindi channels dedicate airtime to religious nationalism and anti Muslim rhetoric. Examples include anchors hailing the Prime Minister as King of Gods. Thanks to competitive sycophancy among politicians, bureaucrats, and corporate bosses, a toxic environment has asphyxiated ethical journalism in the mainstream media. Of course, there are historical precedents from Indira Gandhi's era slogan, India is Indra, and Indra is India. However, today it has been institutionalized in a big way, and this has eroded critical discourse. There is a distinct shift in the mainstream media towards what we can call as narrative shaping journalism. Unethical practices from paid news to media trials compound the crisis. A Taylor and Francis study on media trials analyzes ethical issues in cases like Siddiq Kappan, where outlets prejudge guilt, compromising justice. The Tehelka sting named Operation West End, which was held in 2001, defended using prostitutes as ethical lapses for exposing corruption. But it set precedents for sensationalism, and that was unhealthy. The 2010 Radia tape scandal revealed top journalists crossing lines by lobbying for corporations. The occurrence of unethical reporting on sexual violence has become commonplace today. Such reporting gives top priority to sensationalism over truth. Government agencies can brazenly promote media trials. We witnessed that in the cases of Sushant Rajput, Aryan Khan, and many others. Such acts raise human rights, privacy, and fairness concerns. This type of yellow journalism sacrifices truth for ratings, intersects with external factors like political coercion, as seen in Gujarat riots coverage fueling communalism. The Indian media's sorry state is a confluence of several factors. Political pressures since 2014 have concentrated ownership and enforced censorship. The roles of owners and editors have designed compromise through corporate and political entanglements. Digital rise has fragmented audiences and amplified misinformation. Flattery and unethical practices reflect internal rot, all culminating in lost credibility. Reform requires regulatory independence, ethical training, and diversified ownership. Without it, democracy suffers as informed citizenship fades. Yet outliers like Khabar Lahariya, The Wire, Scroll.in, The Caravan, Economic and Political Weekly, also EPW, Newslaundry, and regional stalwarts such as Malayala Manorama and Eenadu offer hope. This proves that resilient journalism can endure. The path to revival demands confronting the multifaceted crisis head on, the crisis which is facing the nation and the media. In case you have liked my video, please do like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you.